We need to wait for Carmen. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. First up, we have a public hearing considering a fee increase. It is in excess of the 5% of the amount of lap fees collected prior to this decision. So we need a roll call.
Trustee Craig,
Here.
trustee Drew,
Here.
trustee St. Germain.
Here.
Trustee Daniels. And Madam Chair Herbst.
Here. Okay, so do we have any comments, discussions on the fee increase?
Yeah, so the
we
main,
read it?
the main topic up for discussion is our driver's ed fees. So we were currently at 225 is what we've been charging. We went through all the calculations, and to cover our actual cost as a district is going to take about 300 to do a break even. And that's what we've been charging some this year just to cover our costs, but we'd like to get it officially approved. So
What goes into those costs?
increase obviously in fuel costs and then labor costs as well. So we don't recover all of the dollars from the state that we spend on it. So
What
there is
percentage comes from the state
percentage.
or what
I do.
amount?
So I don't have the details on that right here in front of me. I should have brought them, but I don't have them. If Brittany's on there, she can give them to me for sure.
Brittany, are you here?
Question. Okay.
So currently the 225,
Mhm.
what's our shortfall on that on average per student driver?
So it's a difference in it is 300 is our actual cost. So about $75 per student. Yes. So typically when you look at the costs, obviously we've got vehicles involved is a big piece of that, owning the vehicles and all that. So that's really where the expense comes from, upkeep and the fuel. Of course, fuel's crazy right now too.
Because the wage isn't changing, right? It's just the cost,
Right,
operating cost.
right.
When was the last time there was an increase? Man?
That I do not know. Hasn't been since I've been here
It's
for
been a
5
while.
years at least.
It's about time, sounds like.
Yeah, with gas at 4.80 a gallon.
Mhm.
And we have cars here and there's a car in Orofino, or
Yes, there's one at each site. Yeah.
and where do they live here?
The vehicles, they live at so they live at the area where they're at. Yes. So Orofino in here. We use them for other things as well. And there's also private individuals out there doing the actual driving piece of it as well. So one of our issues was trying to get people to do it, our own employees to do that, provide that service, because it is after hours and on weekends and all that, and we provide the car. So there, and obviously with COVID, that was difficult to do. So there were some private entities that picked up some of the slack on that as well. So we're not doing it that much, but it's something that we want to provide. Obviously here, a lot of those services were in Orofino. So trying to provide that service for those students up here was pretty difficult. We actually brought somebody in from another town to come help and try to service here at the school up in this area. So it is a challenge, and it does take money to do that. So trying to pay somebody to come in and do it as well.
Have we heard of any pushback from low income folks about the impact of this? Please.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Still about $100 per student cheaper than private school. So our kids are just happy. Still a really good safety. So it's here. We're having a discussion.
Are you just running
Okay.
them as you get enough kids to do a session, then you run it?
Yeah. Everyone else is doing instructing for us. And, she could take 10 kids as well. So, which then, I think maybe 11 people wanted to take it. So that's good.
Mhm.
We get 10 kids licenses. So
How often a year do you run it up here? Just once?
Thanks. Appreciate it.
it's hard to get certified teachers to take a full credit class.
Mhm.
You have to be a certified teacher first of all, then you have to take a full credit class
Mhm.
and be willing to put the time into it, so it's challenging.
And sit in the car, right?
Yeah.
Survive.
Dr. Garrett, have we not heard from any of the parents on this publicly?
No, I've not, other than through the schools. I'm sure they've contacted the schools. Have you heard anything, Mr. Hunter?
They're excited. I heard anything, Nate's been all positive. Oh, I'm excited.
And I think a lot of that stems from us not having it during COVID for, a year and a half, 2 years. It was difficult to do that. So, or almost 2 years.
Do we have anybody that's zooming in from the public that wishes to make a comment or anything on it?
I could add a comment if you wanted.
Sure.
Mr. Andrews, as a parent, this is my second driver that I certified privately for my son is, and I have another one coming up.
I'm sorry.
Get in at a $300 price, I'd be happy to. The last two cost me $450. So.
Oh, wow.
the piece.
Well, that's important. I
Yeah.
think that's my
Mhm.
biggest point is
Yeah.
the impact on our community. And if we have parents that aren't reaching out, then I guess it's not much of an impact.
$150 difference.
From what I understood, even whenever I, took this over as well, is we weren't doing it for a profit. We were just trying to do it as a service. And when it starts becoming more of an expense, well, then that's where the adjustment came in, was trying to just cover our cost. We don't make anything from it.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other discussion, comments, anything at all? Yes.
So when I took driver's ed, it was during the COVID times when Sister Mikey at Orofino started his private thing, and it costs $500 for
Oh, there you
online
go.
class and then
Yeah.
for 3 days of driving. So I think most students are grateful.
Mhm.
no matter what.
Perfect. Thank
Hey,
you.
thanks
you.
for that. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. No more discussion, no more comments, anybody? All right, I guess we will close the public hearing at this time then. And move on to our regular meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. Can I get a roll call? Again,
Trustee Yurt,
here.
Trustee Daniels, Trustee St. Germain,
Yeah, here.
Trustee Jerome.
Here.
Trustee
Here.
All right, let's stand up for the flag salute. It's right there. Yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next we'll move on to approval of the agenda. We would like to make an amendment to the agenda to move our executive session from number 9 to number 14, right? Is that what, yeah. So basically, we'll be doing the executive session after everything else. We'll do it last. So does anybody have any problem with that? No. Okay, can I get a motion?
I'll move. We move the executive session to the end.
I'll second.
And
Approval
approve
of
the
the
agenda.
agenda.
Oh, we're approving the
Oh.
agenda?
Yeah,
I'm
with
sorry.
that amendment.
Okay,
Oh, I'll move. We approve the agenda with that amendment.
and I'll second it.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, do we have any public comment tonight?
I have not received any.
Public comment. Okay. Approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Can I get a motion?
I'll move that we approve the minutes from our last meeting from April, the regular April meeting, 4/18/2022.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, consent agenda. Any questions, comments, anything on that before we? No.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. All right, moving on to reports and recognition. Do we have any committee reports?
Don't you want to do the appreciation
Oh,
first?
yeah, okay, yeah.
Didn't know if you were doing them out of order.
No, I can't.
I have an appreciation or a recognition.
Okay.
I was able to come up to the Timberline presentation. You got the showcase, I believe is what you guys called it. That was pretty impressive. Saw a lot of proud kids. It's something, to see them showcase their school. That was pretty neat to see. So I just wanted to shout out the kids, I know a lot of that together, and I wanted to make sure that they got recognized for doing that. It was a neat event.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
I
I
was
feel
hope-
the same way.
I
It's
was
great.
hoping to be able to come up to that, but
Missed it.
work got in
I
the
want to do
way.
the happy dance next year.
All right. Any other appreciations, anything like that? No?
Jason, I love your school, bud.
Okay, committee reports. Anything?
So our policy committee, we're going to go through some policies here a little bit later. All these policies have been run through our policy committee and then also through our leadership team. So we've kind of got a double dip on these. So there'll be some good, if you guys have questions of why we're wanting to do what we're doing, we can run those through and have that discussion later. But that committee's been meeting pretty regularly and they're doing a great job of trying to lead us through the district here. So I know the curriculum committee has met. I think Mr. Lee, if Mr. Lee's on there and wants to comment on that, he certainly can. He's in charge of that one. And then I saw Mr. Larson back here somewhere. On the safety committee, if you want to comment on that, you certainly can. And then the learning loss committee. So if you guys have something, this would be a good time to do it. Okay. Yep, it is.
So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. So the curriculum committee was able to meet via Zoom. It's been difficult to get everybody together since we're doing that throughout the entire district. And I was really encouraged by the team and the input they had. Basically, we're looking at science right now and K-12. And so we're really starting with seeing if we have any semblance of a scope and sequence to our science curriculum. And right now, what we quickly realized after the first Google form is that we don't. What we do have are some common tools being used throughout the district, primarily at the elementary level. I shared the curriculum notes with Dr. Garrett that he can share with you from that committee, where you can see some of the common tools, things that are being purchased at certain levels. Our next step on the curriculum team is to basically we're investigating what other districts do, so we're not reinventing the wheel when looking at our scope and sequence for the science curriculum. And so I've reached out and already been in communication with the director of curriculum from the Boise School District, who I happen to be friends with, and starting to get kind of what their process is. If you go onto some of these larger district sites that have actual curriculum directors for specific content areas. So in a larger district, you'll have someone who just oversees science, and that's their primary job from a district office setting. They obviously have a lot more robust maps and scopes and sequences of these curriculums. And so we're kind of cross-referencing those, taking what we currently have and cross-referencing those with what they're doing so that we can have an appropriate scope and sequence for science. With science, what you have are what are called next generation standards. This has been kind of a moving target in science when it comes to curriculum. And so one of the things we're trying to do is to say, do we have any sort of vertical collaboration or vertical alignment with our science curriculum? And right now it's fairly hit or miss. Some of it's based on time at each specific building. So at the elementary level, how much time is allotted to science per grade level varies. And so these are some things we're just kind of uncovering as we're doing this. And then resources. So what one person might be using might be different than what another person is using to teach a similar standard. So our goal is not to take the creativity out of the curriculum for our teachers and for them to be able to to utilize their pedagogy in that and monitor and adjust their own students. Our goal is to create a common document that you could then go on to the JSD 171 website and have an idea, if you're sending your child to our school district, what the curriculum is going to look like in general, what they're going to be, what their course of study is going to be during certain time frames, and that should be consistent throughout the district. And so really great conversations, great team, a lot of really good feedback, and it gives us a really good jump off spot to really start this process and hopefully extend that into other content areas as we refine this.
So Brian, just a quick question. By scope and sequence, you are talking about vertical integration, right?
Yes and no. So when you talk about scope and sequence or a curriculum map, vertical integration is part of that. So looking at, okay, how are we spiraling standards from third grade into fourth grade, and from fourth grade, that's the vertical you're talking about.
Yes.
The other side of a scope and sequence is per grade level or per content area. When you get into the secondary level, how, what does that look like? When are these standards being taught? Why are we teaching these specific standards? And at what grade level are they being taught? So if in 7th and 8th grade, so in 7th grade, if one group is teaching life science and another group is doing, physical science at the 9th. So you just want some congruency there so that when we do collaborate, that we're all teaching the similar concepts during similar periods of time so that we can have vertical collaboration. Otherwise, vertical collaboration can't happen because you're not teaching the same concepts or at the same grade level, even for some of these things. So like biology and physical science at the high school level, making sure that we're looking at the same groups of kids, same age levels, and really being able to break those standards down to see where we're at with those things. So it's a little bit of both, Chris. It's a little bit of it's the vertical as well as just the direct horizontal collaboration from teacher to teacher.
So we're building a bit of capacity through that process to address some of the learning loss stuff that we're talking about as well.
Correct. And we're also looking at what's effective. So, I had the elementary teachers, and you can look at the document there. They have a great resource that they're using, across the scope there that they really like. And so are we having conversations teacher to teacher about what they're utilizing from that? At the high school level, it's like I said, it's fairly hit or miss. It's not great. It's, if I'm a new teacher coming in, I'm not given a lot. I'm given a book maybe in that classroom. Whether that book's the same across the district, we don't know. And so that's what we're uncovering, is that there's really a lack of congruence across the district with the resources that are being offered. So our goal is to build the best resources. So now teachers are having conversations about what works best for them and enhancing the curriculum in the classroom for the kids.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And so those notes can be shared with you. If you have any questions on those, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd be happy to try and answer the best I can. Since I'm not at the elementary, a lot of times I have to defer to some of the great elementary folks that are on that team because they have a better knowledge of what's going on at the elementary than I do.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay, building reports. Anybody have any questions, comments, anything? Everybody is super, super busy. I got dizzy reading all the activities and all the stuff going on. Holy cow. Yeah. But we're almost there. We're at the finish line, especially for you all. There, what do you guys got left? But 9 days, roughly 10, 11 and a wake up. Wow. Okay. Anybody else have anything on the building reports? Good job. Yes.
Oh, please.
Absolutely.
Last core meet, come talk to one of the lighthouse coordinators, so it's kind of- I hope to have some students today. But we weren't able to get some.
Yeah, push the button.
No, it's gonna be on mic.
Light her up, Corey.
All right. Lit up. Okay, so we hosted our first leadership showcase last week. The students ran everything with very little actual guidance from us. I was able to help them with the assembly, just finding MCs and organizing them. And we had everywhere from a 4th grader to a senior speaking at the assembly. We had kindergartners singing and dancing. We had a 7th grader come in and sing, and it just was really exciting to watch them do it. You know, we just kind of gave them the reins and let them go. They shared a lot of their Leader in Me experience that we're doing through the school with the 7 habits. We started it 4 or 5 years ago now. But this is the first time they've been able to showcase what they've been doing. In planning it, it was actually kind of funny because the kids are like, well, but we don't do that much. It's not that special, you know. And I said, well, guys, do you know the metaphor of the frog in the pot of boiling water? Well, no. So I explained to them, you know, we've been doing a little more each year with this, and you're doing things now at the school that nobody does. So, you know, your teachers, most of us, if we spoke in an assembly, it was when we were a senior and president of student body. We didn't speak at assemblies in 4th
Right.
grade. We didn't sing at assemblies. We didn't do those things. And they really, until we were in the middle of it, they didn't really realize just how big what they were doing was. And it was extremely exciting to watch. I got to be part of it from the planning all the way through. And it was very powerful. In fact, just at the beginning of the meeting when Dr. Garrett mentioned it, I started tearing up with pride again, just from all the things that they've done. I had, in my 8th grade class of 15 students, I had 13 students involved in more than one part of Leadership Day. And the 2 that were only involved in one, that was a huge stretch from where they were just at the beginning of the school year. They were afraid to speak to their teachers and classmates, let alone strangers coming through the building. And they were able to not only speak to them, but showcase the things that they've done. And it was just really fantastic. We had lots of positive feedback from the kids the next day, and they're already planning for next year. I want to do this next year. We could improve this next year.
Fantastic.
It's been
Awesome.
really fantastic. And even
Mhm.
today, still they're talking about it.
Wonderful.
And those are skills that'll carry them through life.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So the one thing constructively is we should invite Inovia to participate. I shared with them about my experience and they were very happy, and we're getting a regional staff coordinator person. So we'll have a regional presence for the foundation and help them celebrate that small win that they brought to us, so that if we need to go back for more, then we have created a story around that more.
Yeah, thank you.
I just wanted to recognize, and Becca was instrumental, in getting us started too. We have a lighthouse team, and it's basically our leadership team, but that's responsible for the implementation of the habits in our building, and the showcase as well. Kathy Daniels just came in. Kathy did a lot of work behind the scenes, organizing students, and it was really helpful as well. And then for those of you that are kind of new to the experience, as Chris mentioned, if you didn't make the connection, that Inovia was one of the original grantors that helped us get started. They give us about $20,000 to get started. And since then, we've been able to kind of piecemeal it together, and we've been able to get the cost down. But they were a key financial backer initially. Chris helped with that grant as well. So that was huge in getting it off the ground. And the basic premise is, increasing student engagement through leadership opportunities. And we define leadership very, very broadly, so I had kids pushing mops and parking cars, and, leadership is setting an example. It's being a role model. It's helping older students, younger students, so there's a spot for everybody. And so if you have students that are really struggling with, I hate school, there's nothing for me here, it's a way to really try to connect kids, like, no, we need you. There's leadership within all of us, and you matter, you can contribute. So that event was a feel-good moment for us. If you look at that word cloud that I put on the link there, those are the words that our guests, said about the event. So that was really powerful. And that's on the displays out there. You can see also, but it was pretty cool for our kids. And we're hoping that it was also
an opportunity for a lot of kids to lead, not only to show off what they've been doing, but that, it's kind of, another, surprise, you're doing it again, so more kids got involved just through having that showcase. So that was really cool. And, it was just super cool to watch them. Even my maintenance crew, they're talking on the radio and turn the sound up, turn the sound down, and you sit back and go like, man, we should have been doing this
Yeah.
forever ago,
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool.
Awesome.
Any questions about that or anything I can
Well,
provide more
One
detail
thing
on?
I appreciate, it's also a way of getting the parents involved too,
Yeah.
right? Because they're here watching what the kids are doing, they're involved. Maybe a parent that wouldn't be here would
Right.
come for something like that. So
Yeah.
I
Because you're
think
building,
that's a big part of what we're trying to do up here.
yeah, you're building community too.
Definitely.
That's definitely part of the goal. And we'd like to really expand it. There's a whole parent component. We were kind of
Mhm.
about ready. Beck was helping us get that kicked off the ground and then COVID hit. And, we couldn't get together very well, but we'd like to really reach out and bring in some parents to kind of run the parent component because, you can learn those habits are just universal principles of, how to be successful. And so they're helpful for everybody in their day-to-day lives. So we'd like to really get that off the ground. And I think that would really strengthen that community partnership as well. So
Absolutely.
We have a little bit of money left in the Albertson Fifth Day Fund.
Mhm.
If we wanted to think about hosting a parent event, an enticement event, a meal or prizes
Right.
or whatever, that would certainly be a good use of that. I was wondering, one of our focus interests is attendance. And have you seen a change over the last 4 years, kind of the trend? Is it affecting attendance, engagement across the, I saw the results, which was awesome, right? But I'm just wondering.
Maybe before COVID, since COVID, no. I think we're going to see an increase. The better job we do at it, the higher our attendance. We definitely have kids that come to school because they have important roles, but I wouldn't say systemically that it's really improved attendance yet. But I think it will eventually. The goal is that every kid, there's something meaningful here, for them and that they want to be here and be successful.
What about disciplinary issues?
I couldn't say.
Still, like, yeah. Yeah.
As far as like the quantity of discipline here, it isn't very high, so it's not a major thing. We have, a
Which is
low
a
number
huge-
of kids that, are high needs, but across the board, it's not.
Which that's a huge change from what it was 10
Right.
years ago.
Yeah. Kathy, do you have anything you want to add?
You pretty much said everything I was gonna say.
All right.
We had a lot of, basically what happened is adult coordinators, coordinated the group of students and all they had to do is oversee them, and then the students did the work and provided leadership. So, and like I said, Kathy did a lot of that. She helped really coordinate the tour, which was a big part of it. She has that spirit squad. We have what's called action teams, and those action teams are groups of leaders that take on responsibilities, whether it's, cheer squad or Corey has the Spartan ambassadors that help with game management, things like that. And so there's a bunch of them, and we're hoping to get more off the ground. And I'm thinking the enthusiasm from the event will get more adults and students to want to, participate.
Kathy, how was the turnout on the litter pickup? I'm sorry, I didn't make it.
It was low this year, but when there was snow on the ground and district track and different things going on, but we just found my daughter's in PTA or whatever you call it down in Lewiston, and it's just hard to get volunteers to do much of anything anyway.
That's a fact.
Well, I'm sorry.
But
We-
made a dent.
We picked up a lot of garbage.
Well, kudos to you guys, because that's just
Yeah.
awesome. Just
It was fun. It was, the credit goes to our kids and,
Yeah.
teachers put a lot of work in. So
Good job.
good stuff.
all righty.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Jason
Thank you.
and Kathy. And Corey. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I have a tendency to miss things. Yeah. Old age. All right. Anything else? Building reports.
I was just going to comment on coming up to Jason's event or the Timberline event. It was really neat to see. I didn't, get to be there for the whole thing, but there's a lot of things. What I loved about it was the intentionality and listening to the kids talk about the different roles they have and being able to define those roles. You know, I think we do a lot of these things in our buildings, but being intentional about those roles was really cool to see. And I'm going to steal some stuff for our building. So it was neat to see really the pride those kids took when they were presenting that stuff. I thought that was really special. A wonderful job by that whole team. I love seeing the little kids take that ownership, and really what I could see is they're building a culture of those younger kids taking that responsibility that I think is going to pay dividends in the long term with those younger kids doing that. It was neat to see the pride in their faces and just the conversations they were able to have with the adults. Really neat to see.
Ready.
Lastly, on our notes there, I don't know if this is on there, Dr. Garrett, since I'm not there, but we do have 3 students who are supposed to be attending tonight, either by Zoom or in person. I can't really see if they're there or not for early graduation. Was that already part of the deal?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
We're getting
One
getting
here.
there.
Okay.
One here and I think 2 on Zoom.
Okay. And then the last part of mine that the board will want to know, we were approved for the 5-year cohort to do the PBIS. So on the notes, it says we're waiting for approval. We were approved for that. So that'll offer some additional resources to assist us in building that program in our building, which will be neat to see.
All righty.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
Okay. Program reports. Anybody have anything on that? Can't drive a bus.
On the,
No, you don't want me to.
on the maintenance, are we coordinating with Valley Enterprises where they want to refinish their gym floor at the community building? The old junior high?
So yes, but there's no hurry on that. So yes, that is in the
Okay,
works,
just wanna
but
make sure.
yeah, it's not currently going to happen this year, but they weren't in a hurry for it either.
Oh.
Yeah.
okay, that's not what this said.
Oh. Because he had something new. He evidently hasn't told me that. I'm sorry.
It was gonna happen, so
Um,
this year, so that's why I asked.
I knew
Just
I
wanna
was,
keep that fresh.
yeah, I was coordinate with them earlier in the fall and this winter, and they were not in a diehard hurry on that. So, but yes, we are going to coordinate with them whenever that happens.
They also have anything on the program reports? I noticed that Casey, she UA'd a bunch of people. Is that, did I see that? I have it here. I was just wondering if they were all squeaky clean. That's an actual deterrent.
Probably not something we're going to discuss
Okay,
in an
I-
open meeting.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Just curious. There was something.
So yeah, she's working on getting certifications in different areas so we can do our testing in-house, even with transportation. I know she's working with Derek on that as well.
So we're sending them out,
Mhm.
the tests out.
Yes. So yeah, we're looking, as she has to take some courses to do that, to be certified. So it could actually save us some money in the long run and should
Gotcha.
be
For
available.
performance enhancing drugs?
Mhm. Yeah. No.
Just curious
Wishful thinking.
about that. All right. Anybody else? Superintendent report, any questions on that?
I was bummed about the loss of the food, breakfast and lunch program.
So the funding for it is what we're losing next year. So right now it's, basically free for the last 2 years, correct? Yeah, for everyone. So we're going to go back to the model of the free reduced model from prior because of the funding. But what we're looking at and what we're proposing to do is to be able to fund breakfast ourselves through the district. So everybody would still have that opportunity to have a free breakfast. So that is something we're working on. And we've done a little bit of the preliminary calculations, and it looks like it's not going to cost us hardly any money at all to go ahead and serve kids in the morning, just the way we have the system set up. So, but lunch will go back to the free reduced at this point. And none of that's really set in stone at this point. And Carmen could probably speak to that a little bit more, but we've had a lot of conversations on it. So,
Well, we will definitely have to take lunch applications next year like we did in the past. And then their pay rate will be determined on their economic status. So it'll be free, reduced, or paid. And reduced cost is 40 cents. And that's always just, it doesn't change. It'll be the paid amount that we're still not sure about. The state has not got all the details from USDA on what we have to raise them. They set that. We have a formula we have to go to that tells you have to raise a minimum of, and we don't have an option. So that's what we're waiting to determine what that number will be for those paid students. But the rest will be operated just like we have in the past.
And we anticipated that we were going to lose that free thing.
Yeah,
anyway.
and we will see some impact because this year we've had a higher reimbursement rate. And then in January, they actually tacked on another 25 cents on top of that. So all of that will go away. And so we're right back to where we was 3 years ago. So I don't know if their reimbursement rates are going to be any better than they were 3 years ago, if they'll make up for those years or not, or if they're just going to pick up where they left off 3 years ago on that. I'm hoping it'll go up because food cost has really raised. And as it is, the reimbursements for lunch isn't enough to cover what we're required to give anyway. So we're hoping that they'll increase that.
How are we doing on supply chain issues with food? I
Well,
was going to ask you about that last time and I didn't.
we plan and we get what we can get when we can get it. Garbage bags, if we can get them, we get them. They'll hold till next year. You know, that type of stuff we get in place. Some things it's hit and miss, like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches is a big hit. But we can get them 1 week, then we might not get them for 2 weeks, then you might get them for 2 weeks, you might not get them for 1 week. So we're constantly adapting the menu. So the kids have not went without. We've been able to make everything meet our guidelines, but it just may not have been what we chose or what we had planned in advance.
How do you get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
It's called Uncrustables, made by Smuckers,
Oh,
and they're prepackaged
oh, we
and
don't make them.
we know they're the favorite, aren't they? They're the fave. Yeah.
I think they like them.
Yeah,
Yes.
it sounds like.
I've never had one.
Oh, well, the ones we get are, they meet, they're a whole grain. They got 2
Yeah.
proteins, 2 grains in them. So they meet all those requirements. We actually use them as a breakfast item.
Hmm.
Or when we do sack lunches for field trips and stuff, because you can put them in frozen. Time they eat them at lunch, keeps the rest of everything cool. They wet, you know, act as a little ice pack kind of.
Okay,
And they're
I-
good frozen too, aren't they? Anyway.
I was hoping it meant we were going back to the norm, but when I saw that they were going away, I was wondering about that. And do we, I mean, I'm sure you know what percentage of our student body takes breakfast?
Well, we did. We said was 600 a day is eating because the high school doesn't do breakfast in the classroom. So we rely on them to come in. They actually have to show up early and go to the cafeteria and get breakfast instead of socializing or running in the doors, the bell rings. So at the high school, what is there, 360-ish students, and we feed 70 to 80 a day breakfast. The rest are socializing somewhere.
So not a high percentage then.
Yeah, so that makes us feeding right at like, what do you say, 600, 602 a day was our average in the month of, was April.
Okay.
I just wanted to back up here. You know, we do read all these reports back to the building reports, back to the program reports, and to not comment on it. I think that's kind of bad because, you know, it probably is, you just gave us such good information. I appreciate, you know, hearing what's going on in detail, and that really is important. And I do appreciate you taking the time to do it. You know, we had complete reporting this time. Does really give us a pulse of what's going on. And, you know, we're sometimes playing catch up, trying to figure out, you know, how things are working and how they're going. And I'm very excited about what you're all doing. And thank you for your reports. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we do read them.
We're so good, we don't have any comments.
Yeah, they are.
They are
really
detailed. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
Again,
good
I
things happening.
Feel sorry for y'all because you guys are busy. All right, so let's moving on to our discussion items. First on the list is our April 25th, 26th law conference that some of us went to. I did go. Or did you take notes, Jerome?
Of course. Yes, but did you?
No, I did not.
You did not.
Not particularly, no. I did. There is some interesting
Yeah.
information. A lot of stuff about transgender students and that type of thing. There was a lot of talk of that, which, a lot of districts are having huge problems and with policies and whatnot and dealing with that. And that was one thing.
Difficult issues.
Yeah. There
Yeah.
really-
Yeah. You want me to kind
Go
of
ahead.
give a little
Yeah,
bit of a
please
recap?
do, because
It was pretty comprehensive, wouldn't you say?
Mhm.
And I was impressed. I mean, we were busy the whole time we were down there. There wasn't much downtime at all, but basically they covered state employment law.
yes.
And there's a lot of details that we don't know that we need to know. And so it's quite helpful for us and proper ways of handling different scenarios. And of course, we deal with employing a lot of people here. And then public records law, and how to maintain that, how it's made available, the law about how soon somebody has to get a record if they're asking for it. And of course, what we do is public records. So that's an important thing. Like Christine hit on it, it's constitutional rights of the students. And that's becoming an increasing issue because students, are on the web, on their phones, and there's lots of interaction back and forth. How far does the school reach out regarding these things? So there was a lot of talk about that, and a lot of it was quite helpful.
How far do we?
Title IX, you got to be
What
real
is our
careful.
responsibility?
Basically, well, I can't go into detail about that. Do you want me, you got a couple hours? I'll talk to you afterwards.
Yeah. For a
Yeah,
couple hours.
we got to be the school has to be careful how far out they reach. And so I think we're all aware of that.
Yeah,
But
we have to
that
make
was
sure,
talked about.
that we're following our policies too. That's huge. Is
Yeah.
having the policies in place and following the policies. Because once you stop following the policies, that's when you start getting into murky waters. So.
I got some good notes I'll share with you.
Yeah, I'm
How's
curious.
that?
He took good notes. Not so much, but yeah.
We talked about Title IX, sexual harassment.
Sexual
We
harassment.
talked about school funding, what's happening this year with school funding. One thing that you would think wouldn't be that big of a deal, but I was really impressed with, we had an insurance guy there that covers all of our, and he talked about transportation and how important the school buses are. I didn't realize that the school
Yeah.
bus is, because I was wondering, why don't we have some, 15 passenger vans, that we can do some stuff with, especially for these sports events that people need to go to. And I've had coaches ask me about that. And I brought it up to Mike last year. And Mike said exactly the right thing. The school buses are a lot safer. People get killed in those 15 passenger vans, and you have to take all that into account. The school
Insurance
bus is a
wise.
very safe vehicle, statistics wise and so forth. So that was really helpful. These
Yeah.
little things help us. Yes, I think that's about it.
About it.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Got to hear lawyers talk for 2 years.
It was all lawyers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much all attorneys.
Yep. A lot of things about what we can and can't do.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
good.
Follow policy. That's what we need. Okay, so now without further ado, we'll start with our IDYCA cadets. Absolutely.
So in speaking about policy, in accordance with policy 2701, I have 9 students here today that are requesting permission to graduate from high school prior to when they originally would. They have all met the requirements listed in the policy. And they're here I thought it would be important, since they're going to be an extension of Joint School District 171, for you to meet them, to hear their future plans and kind of put a face to my students. So I'll
Absolutely.
let them introduce themselves.
I'm Nathan Howard. I live in Meridian, Idaho, and I plan to go to BYU-I, Brigham Young University, in the upcoming fall semester.
Good
And
deal.
What are you going to study?
I'm planning to go into the vet program. So
Awesome.
be a
Awesome.
veterinarian, help out animals.
How old are you?
16 right now.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So you're going to get a good head start on everything.
Yes. Yeah.
All righty.
I'm Christopher Durkee. I live in Aurora, Colorado, and I want to join the military right after I graduate. So
How old are you?
I'm 17
When do you turn 18?
in a month.
I'm sorry, did you say Colorado?
Yes.
What
Cool.
branch of the
So
military?
main Question is why is it not in Idaho State?
Yeah, yeah.
They're allowed to have a sponsor that is from Idaho.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
I mean, I have a relative.
Welcome to Idaho.
Thank you.
Yes.
What branch
Right.
of the military?
Either Air Force, Army, or Navy. Not sure which one yet.
No Marines?
No.
You hit all of them, but Space Force?
No, thank you. Yeah.
All righty, thank you.
Very good.
Hi, sorry. Hi, I'm Braylon Perkins. I am planning to graduate and then go to CWI in the fall semester, and my study is so far undetermined.
Very good.
Okay.
Where are you from?
Meridian, Idaho, sorry.
How old are you?
I'm 17.
17.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Aviana Nybar. I am from Idaho Falls, Idaho. And when I return home, I will be living with my parents, and I will be, when I turn 18, I will be signing up for the military for either the Marines or Army active duty. And while in the military, I plan to sign up for college for a 4-year degree for engineering. And that is what I plan to do while in the military.
Good
Awesome.
job. That's a good idea.
Hoorah.
Mhm.
I'm Cadet Zachary Domross. I'm turning 17 in June. I'm from Moscow, Idaho. I plan on working for a year to save up for college. I plan to go to U of I to get a bachelor's of science in psychology. But as of recently, today, in fact, I saw my ASVAB score and I'm reconsidering the military.
Mhm.
What was your score?
89.
Nice. Good job.
Thank you.
That's not easy.
What MOS do you want?
Undecided, but I'm considering the Air Force.
Okay, how old are you?
16, but I turned 17 in June.
Oh, wow.
89 is a good score, bud.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm Olivia Davis. I'm from Moscow, Idaho. I'm 18 years old. I got accepted into Northern Idaho College, and I plan on going up there this fall to study architecture. So
Congratulations.
thank you.
Good job.
I see in the house.
Yeah. It's a good time to do it, building.
Need that.
Hi, I'm Cadet Zarate. My full name is Abigail Zarate. I was born in Peru, South America. And after this, I'm going back home, living with my parents. I'm gonna be attending CSI, and I'm gonna be studying for traveling nurse.
Very good.
Where's home?
Getting Idaho.
Goody.
Hmm.
Hello, my name is Curtis Newman. I live in Twin Falls, Idaho, and I am going to go to CSI and study forestry. And then after a few years of forestry, I want to go into the Navy.
Very good.
How old are you?
Good job.
I'm 17.
17.
Hello, my name is Ryan Rogers. I come from Parma, Idaho. And after I graduate, I'm planning on going back to my job at Western Laboratories. And I'm going to work to try to get my CDL so I could drive truck.
Good.
No college plans?
I might go to college at either West Texas A&M or University of Idaho. I kind of want to study agriculture.
Oh,
Wow.
okay. Your family farmers?
No, not necessarily. We own like a small little farm, but it's not a whole lot.
Excellent.
Is that it?
Sharp bunch of kids.
Okay.
That's exciting.
So we have some, go ahead.
If I may, so my understanding is that you attend the academy to get caught up and that you have exceeded the catch up and reached the point of graduation is commendable. So I commend you for your focus and diligence to do such a thing.
Actually, many of them did credits on top of the 14. Did additional credit recovery to make sure.
Well, they would have had to, right? To
Yeah,
be
well,
eligible.
not all of them, but some of them definitely did have an English class in there, here and there. But put in the time, they came in during the morning before school started to do extra work. And had to be diligent on weekends to do that work, so. And they've all completed their senior projects and.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Great job.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Nice to be proud.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are
Awesome.
proud of you.
Awesome. Awesome. All right.
And we have 3 from OJSHS that would like to request as well. So I believe Cassandra.
I'm Cassandra Bonds. I'm a junior at Orofino Junior Senior High School, and I am planning to graduate early. I'm accepted in the University of Idaho with a major in criminology, and my future plan is getting into the FBI.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm 17 years old.
Fantastic.
And I think we have a couple on Zoom from Orofino.
Okay.
Russell, do you have them on? Okay.
No. Well,
See a maniac.
oh, I think
Maybe. It's a young lady in plaid.
Sorry about that.
There you are.
My name is Kyriana Rockholt, and I'm 17 and from Orofino, Idaho. And my reason for graduating was because I wanted to further my career and then potentially go to LCSC to study business ag.
Did you say you're 17?
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
So do we have one more on? I believe one more.
Hello, my name is Racy. I'm 17. I'm currently a junior. I'm an EMT with Clearwater County Ambulance. And if I'm able to graduate early, I am going to take the LCSC paramedic program, or I'm going to get my LPN through them.
Okay.
Hi, Racy.
Hey.
So, do we have essays from these students
So they,
addressing their desire?
They're all about the small sheets with the policy.
Mhm.
Right. Yep, okay. Just-
So as we go through this, our policy asks, that they ask to graduate early, and the principals have assured that they've met the requirements and looking that over. So as we get to that item, we'll go through that recommendation. So I just want to commend all of them for taking that on. That's a big task, and I'm very impressed. They're driven individuals that'll be great leaders in our community. So I'd give them all a round of applause for that. So it's pretty awesome.
All right. Spring policy updates, 2022.
Yeah, so if you guys want to pull that up, we can certainly walk through these. We have, so this has been through, like I said, our policy committee as well as our leadership committee. And we looked through the policies prior, I believe, to our meeting prior to this. And we did obviously didn't make any determinations. We hadn't been through all of them. So as you can see, what we have indicated on what I've shared with you guys, the green is what we're recommending. The red is we're not recommending. And then the yellow, there's still a couple that we still want to work on. But most of those we've got completed. The attendance policy is one, an addition that would be, a first reading this time, or we can, if you guys feel compelled, we can pass it if you feel comfortable with that, or we can have that discussion and you can make that determination. Our goal with that attendance policy is to have that in place for next year. So as we go through that, if there's bits and pieces that we need to explain or discuss and need to add, we can certainly wait on that. So going through these, my recommendation is, when we get to it, is to accept the list as we have listed with the reasons that we have. And then if you want to go ahead and look at our attendance policy, since it's the first chance you've had to look at it, we can certainly go into that a little bit more detail. So any questions on each of these of, why we were doing what we're doing? And we can certainly run through them if you would like.
I read most of these at 3:30 this morning.
So
Except
you
for the
understand them
attendance
fully.
Policy. So
That's fine.
I need a little time on that one.
Okay.
But
Yep, absolutely.
I didn't have any questions on the other ones.
Okay.
Yeah, the rest of it seems pretty straightforward.
And it's when we go run these through committee and our leadership, there's a lot of variables that come into play and a lot of good discussion on it. So we've got down to the nuts and bolts and a lot of it, what we wanted to do with it. So, but obviously you guys have that right to address it and approve or not approve. So, but most of the recommendations that come from ISBA are pretty cut and dried, and the ones that are really required, a lot of these are recommended policies. But if it's a required policy, obviously we don't have a lot of choices on that. That's basically state law. So the recommended are just to help clean things up a little bit.
So in that situation, 2460, because it's not recommended by leadership and is not a required, then we can table that.
Yes, absolutely. And we can always bring any of these back at any time if there's something that you have a question. So the one you're referring to is looking at the process for granting credit extended learning opportunities. The reason we didn't want to do that is because we don't have those programs nailed down. So we want to have more details on that of how that looks and then bring that to you guys. So that is something that we want to look at in the future. And that's what we have written in there is, we want to make sure we have our committee clean this up and get those programs in place so we know the ins and outs before we put it in the policy.
I like that idea, the extended learning.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody's opposed to that.
We're not
We're
ready
just
for
not ready
that,
for
huh?
that. Really our focus is looking at trying to do things within the walls of our buildings
Right.
at this point in time. So those extended learning opportunities are additional programs on top of that. So, trying to do one step at a time. Attendance is one of those issues that we've been dealing with all year. So we want to get that cleaned up a little bit more first,
Right.
and then see if there is a result in what we're doing in-house, and then we can expand from there. Absolutely. There's been a lot of committee work going on, as you guys have seen this spring, and a lot of people putting in a lot of time, whether it's policy or learning loss or safety, whatever, curriculum. All these committees have been meeting as much as they can and really moving forward. So I think everybody has the same determination and the same, insight of what we need to be, where we need to head. So I'm very appreciative of those people heading those up as well. It takes a team for sure. Get some good solid recommendations that way. So do you want to talk just a minute about the attendance policy? If there's no questions on the other piece of the updates.
So everybody had a chance to.
I'm just refreshing my brain here.
I would like to have a little time to look at that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So
me as well. I don't want to rush that.
No. So
I recognize we want to get that in place for next year.
We have time.
So it kind of fell in line.
There's a
with
lot
the
in there.
Learning loss committee. So we've all done a lot of work on this. So really there's a chunk that is taken out that was pretty convoluted. And we'd have to look at like the existing policy, but basically there was, punishments for not being in school. So
Mhm.
basically if you miss, a certain number of days, you get suspended for a certain amount of days, which doesn't make any sense when you really think about it, because our goal is to have the kids in school. So there were a lot more punitive things on there step by step. So we basically said, look, this is not go to work for us, because you're not wanting to punish a kid that hadn't been there 9 days. Now you suspend them for another 2. Now they're gone 11 days. That doesn't make any sense. So what we're looking at is kind of a tiered process and something a little more automated that's going to be a lot more routine across the district. And the recommendation, and this is what we came up with on the wording, is this highlighted piece that you guys have in front of you. So once you read, and again, this is not policy at this point, this is just recommended. So we're looking at day 5, you automatically get a list, and we're looking at using our systems a lot better. So you automatically get a letter through Skyward that goes to the parent or guardian, and it also prompts the principal and the attendance secretary. So they know now that that person has been gone 5 days. Once they move to 7, they're going to receive the secondary one saying, look, you're in jeopardy of possibly losing credits in high school or repeating a grade if we get to that point. And then on day 9, that is where, the district level would get involved, and we'd set up basically a hearing with the parent or guardian and the student. And then we would set down basically a pathway. And that's one thing we're leaving pretty open to each building. We haven't got that really nailed down yet, but what those students could do to go ahead and continue with that credit or continue those classes. So these are the expectations, kind of setting a plan up for them and then meeting that criteria. So you have those, if you want to say hoops to jump through, but those criteria to meet. So since you've already kind of lost your privilege by not attending school that many days. So then, there's a piece that our state code, Idaho code, has the truancy laws that have, the prosecutor involved if you have students who are not showing up to school. So the parents or the guardians can get involved as well. So that's got to be a piece of it. We're trying to work hand in hand with them as well.
What about, is there any discussion about truancy courts?
Yeah, so there has been. And are you talking about courts at the courthouse, or are you looking at our own courts within?
A truancy specialized court thing.
So we've looked at within doing a truancy court. Yes. So looking at having, we threw a lot of things around. So we looked at bringing them to the board and saying, this is our truancy people, but you guys meet once a month, maybe twice a month. And now you're expanding the time of when the student can get that help. So we're looking at creating a truancy court that might have a couple of board members. So you don't have a quorum, but also with some administrators or teachers or employees that can help with that. So, and possibly even students on it as well, that can kind of help guide that process. So yes, if you're looking at a truancy court, yes, having a panel, a board, a committee, whatever you want to call
There's
it.
some real good models
Mhm.
out there for it. Latah
Yeah.
County does a truancy court, as does Nez Perce County,
Yep.
and they're fairly successful with it. And they actually, there comes a point where they actually see the judge,
Mhm.
even just as it's a diversion.
Right.
So.
Right.
So with what we have in front of us as a recommended draft, I participated in the Learning Loss Committee, and it's a series, a tool that creates a clear series for the student with a consequence as a result of increased attendance, lack of attendance. But we didn't feel like a lot of what we could have put in it made sense, because it becomes unenforceable, and how do you manage that?
Right.
And so I think you did a good job in wording what we discussed.
And looking at automating it a little bit more, and not fully automating, but making it where we can track it much easier. We get tangled up a lot in the what's excused, not excused, and who says what and what building does, and you get behind that curve really easily. Our attendance secretaries do a great job, but it's a battle. So if a student is late for a class or two, that's tardy, how many of those count as a attendance? You're not in attendance, or if they're repeating the same time, like they show up late every single day, and they miss the first 2 hours every day, is that different than missing a few classes in the middle of the day? So there's a lot of gray areas that we have to really figure out, and what's excused and not excused. We have some pretty good codes and some pretty good ways of tracking that in Skyward, which is our student information system. We just need to really put something with it and put that pattern in place. So this is a really good start. There was a lot lot of discussion to get to this small amount that you guys are looking at. So
Okay.
go ahead.
But you wanted to leave the pathways to be determined by each administrator.
Well, I think the pathways are going to be determined. I think there'll be some generic pathways that will result from this. So there'll be probably 3 or 4 or 5 that will be like the main ones. And depending on the student, depending on the support from home, depending on where they're at academically, depending on lots of different variables, we can send them down X path, or it might be better to send them down Y. And it depends on, and maybe neither one of those works. So we may have to make a combination. But I think having a standard set, and we haven't really got to that to that point yet, but that pathway is something we need to work at.
Yeah, because I guess my question be who has oversight of that
Mhm.
then? Because it
Right.
almost makes the policy
Right.
invalid.
Right. So we would do that back in each building to make sure that they're following through. And then that committee would follow up on that as well. So that committee would be a big piece of that, kind of overseeing it. And of course, through district office, myself, and, keeping records on it.
And I'm all about the committees, but if the schools are going to have specific ways of addressing that, I would think that administrative level should be involved in that.
Mhm. Sure.
And they're probably not on the committee today.
So
I mean, some are.
Yeah.
but-
So as a committee, we were talking about that as what that really needs to look at. But each building, if that was their student, they would be a piece of that committee.
Okay.
The committee word you're using is leadership committee, not the learning loss committee that I participated on to come up with the language, correct?
It is.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think the main thing is that it needs to get honed down to where it can be consistent.
Yeah.
too. I mean, I think.
Yeah,
that's-
I'm all for those. Those are the questions we need to answer.
Yeah, and
now,
I agree. I just think it should be. I know every building's different.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess from a standardized method, it should be at least pretty similar.
Yeah, I think when we start, you're right. 'cause I
Similar.
think-
I mean,
Yeah.
not exact
Exactly,
maybe, but there should be some.
consistencies in it, because I
Yeah.
think once we lose those consistencies, we
Mhm.
start down a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And really, that's the intent. We just don't have those pathways. So, we were talking about the main difference would be pathways between elementary and junior high and
Sure.
high school is really going to be your main discrepancy. So what you're going to do with a high school kid is probably not going to be the same with an elementary.
Sure.
A lot of times the high school kids choose not to come to school, whereas the elementary kid may not be their choice that they didn't come to school that day. There's
Right.
somebody maybe not helping them or what, what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's different avenues, and we just need to make sure we're covering those. So there's more work that needs to be done on it for sure.
So the 90% attendance, it says on number 4, illness and hospitalization verified by a doctor's statement. Is that every illness requires a doctor's note?
You might ask the principals how we do that right now, but that's not, so we excuse it if there is a doctor's note.
Sure.
Or illness.
No, I can get that.
And we're also, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, you get Mr. So as a student, if a parent calls in and the student is ill, excused or not excused?
Excused, however.
Right.
So students have approximately 9 days per semester to do whatever. Go on shopping.
Be sick.
Literally.
They wouldn't do that.
Excused by their parent because they're sick, 9 days per semester, so 18 days per year, parent excuse for whatever. The other part of that policy is that any doctor's notes or bereavement don't even count, not even calculated. So those don't count in the 90%. So if you have a doctor's note that says this kid needs to miss, a week of school because of severe illness, whatever, those don't count. So there's really a lot of days that parents have discretion on how they want. So we just have, frequently we'll have students who spend a lot of those days on Zoom or shopping or whatever, that get sick. They don't want to.
Oh, yeah.
Doctor, they don't want to for whatever reason. They end up in violation. So it gets complicated. That's important to know that there's 9 days per semester
Right.
for whatever.
Yep.
So those are
any
more,
bereavement or doctors, those don't count.
so those are more or less discretionary days, the 9 days, if you will, and then,
Yes.
and then
And
beyond
excused.
that.
Yeah, and excused really means that the parent knows where they're at.
Gotcha.
The kid's going up.
So little Timmy's got a stomach ache and mom keeps him home. we're not going to require them to go to the doctor to get that approved.
Not necessarily, but if they wanted to not count in the percentage, they would need to.
To not count in that 9-day.
Right.
Correct.
You are
Okay.
correct.
Can we put that, can we be more specific in that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the way I read it, just me, says every time you're sick, you need a doctor's note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this, just so
And
you
I-
know, this policy was a lot more long and complicated. So we
Sure.
simplify, and what you're looking at is a piece of the original.
Right. I
So
just,
we
I
can
like the way
reword.
Jason explained it
Mhm.
because I didn't know that, but
Yep.
it doesn't reference that
Right.
in the policy. And I
That
think
makes
that that would be important as a parent,
Yeah.
to know that, okay, so there's some discretionary time there. And so if you do have a stomach ache, I don't have to take you to the doctor, but I need to know as a parent that if I keep you out longer than this is what's going to happen eventually, right? And I think that knowledge is really important from an accountability standpoint from the parent, because to your point that the second grader doesn't have near the authority at home
Mhm.
as the senior in high school, right?
Right.
So when it comes to attending school, but I'm all about the 90%. We need to get them in there. I'm all about that. I want to make it really clear.
And
on
it
what
does
we're trying
say
to
it
count.
down through there. It may not necessarily knows words. So, it says, I think a few paragraphs down from where you're at there,
Right.
it does say it,
references
but
minus the 4
Mhm.
categories.
Yeah. Yep.
I just like the
It's
way
just-
Jason explained it.
Yep.
versus the
Yeah,
way-
that makes way
Can
more
simplify that.
sense. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
A big part of the problem is communication.
It is.
Sure.
Once we get settled on it, we need to
Yep.
really clearly communicate.
Right.
Sure.
And that's why we wanted to start early enough. We can get this done. So it's,
Yeah,
we can
absolutely.
communicate it before school starts.
Yeah,
with
I'm
Skyward,
all about it.
With Skyward, you would think parents would know. I would
Some
know.
are really diligent about it,
Yeah.
because the student will miss and have the wrong code in there, and, so they'll
Right.
go to
Right.
school and say, hey, Johnny's at a football game and it says whatever, just fix it.
Skyward's a wonderful thing. If they'd had that when my kids were at school, they would never left the house. Other than to go to school.
It's a pretty big
Putting
management.
that out there.
Yeah. It's a lot every day for our attendance secretaries to
Oh, I
keep track
can't
of.
imagine.
It's a big job for sure. They do a great job, but there's a lot of information there that has to go in.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof. Oofta. All right. Any more discussion on that? On the policies? Anybody have any of the other ones? So if we want to table the attendance policy.
Yeah, and when you get down to your action item, you can
we'll-
certainly do
we'll
that. Yeah. Yep.
Is
We just
everybody-
wanted to be it as part of the policy.
Yeah.
piece.
That's what I would like to do. I can't speak for everybody, but that's what I
I
would
feel
like
the
to do.
same way.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? We good? Okay, yes.
Is the attendance policy the same throughout the districts? Is that all like or is it just school based? Their
a good
their
question.
type of attendance policy? Because I know at Orofino, I had shoulder surgery and I was out for about 3 weeks after that. And my mom had called and excused me, but I was told that I need a doctor's note or those wouldn't be excused.
Right.
So I don't know if that's like the same across the board or. I think it's just pretty confusing to students, the attendance policy as well, because I know, there's that baseline. If you miss school every day, you're not gonna do anything, but you don't get a warning until, they're like, if you miss one more day, you're gonna be in a lot of trouble here.
And I'm assuming once we get this solidified and get everything in this that we want to be there, then it will be updated in the student handbook as well, so that the students are well aware of what's going on. So if that answers your question.
Yeah, And I think part of the policy is kind of almost written backwards because you're looking at 90% of attendance. And if you look at it like what you're saying, what Mr. Hunter was saying, it's a little easier to understand when you think, well, I've got this many days and anything over that.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And also we're looking at prompting, on day 5 and then, right on through. So,
Which I think is great. Yeah.
yeah, instead of waiting till that day 7 or 8.
Yeah.
So,
And sometimes if a student's out, like the example she was given, it might be a matter of making a phone call
right.
to mom, and maybe she's overwhelmed and hasn't got around to, oh yeah, we have a doctor's note. You know what I mean?
Right,
Just prompt them
right.
to make sure they have that. So.
We're just trying to clean it up to make it easier for everyone.
No, and I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
do. And I think it's important. And I think that, I think we're on the right track. I think we'll get it spelled out the right way.
Yep.
And it'll be impactful.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Gotta love a good policy.
Yep.
Can
Keep
you
kids in
go
school.
over 8605 real quick?
Sure, if I can
I'm
get
having a
there.
hard time tracking.
Yeah, so what's
So
your,
how long do we retain text
So we-
messages?
so, yeah, so we're not recommending that we retain text messages at this point. So everything else is recommended. If you can see, that's in red. It says the paragraph on page
texting.
2. Yeah. So we recommend not retaining those.
So that
We
would
don't
come
have any,
out.
yes.
Okay.
We do not have any school devices that are through texting. Yep. Okay.
All right, anything else? A lot of light reading there.
Mhm. Lovely.
All right, so everybody ready to move on to the action items? All right. Action item number 1, the policy updates. Can I get a motion? That's a tough one.
So I'll move that we accept the recommendations from leadership team, except for 3050, which will hold out for further review.
And just for reference, 3050 is the attendance policy, correct?
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Okay, the fee schedule. Can we get a motion?
And that's on the driver's ed.
Driver's ed
the
only, yeah.
public hearing.
Yep, policy 7500.
I'll move on this the fee schedule for driver's ed that we increase it to, was it $300, Mike? Yeah, to $300.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Oh,
Discussion.
discussion, sorry.
Is Brian Lee still on the?
Yeah, I'm here.
Brian, have you had any feedback on this at all from the parents?
No, they're just happy we're offering it again, to be honest with you, and that it's less expensive than the local one. It fills up quick. I mean, as soon as that opens up, kids are rushing to the office to get signed up and get on it. So if anything, we have need for more people who are willing to go through the training. It does cost the individual who runs the driver's ed, I think, and this isn't exact, but I think it's roughly $600 to obtain their certification through the actual class. And so that's a cost they incur that they have to recuperate from teaching and getting paid to teach the driver's ed classes. So yeah, if anybody listening has the ability to do driver's ed, go for it, because we can probably fill your class.
Thank you, Brian.
No.
I just want to make sure the parents got heard if there's anything out there.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. I mean, it's expensive, absolutely. But and it's not a cost they love paying, but a lot of them have their kids work ahead of time so they can pay for their own driver's ed, or at least they meet them halfway or something along that way to show them the responsibility of if you're going to be a driver, it's not cheap to drive.
Yeah, it's just a big percentage.
Ready? Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried. Okay, our early graduation request for policy 2701. For 12 students? Together? 9 for Kennedy, 3.
So I guess I have a question.
We good. Yeah, we need the motion first. It's action item.
I'll move that we grant the request for early graduation, 9 students from IDYCA and also the 3 from Orofino Junior Senior High School.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right. Hey, that's the hard part.
Yeah, so in our policy, it talks about having a clear direction. And I heard some direction, but not real clear direction from a number and across the board. And that concerns me. So, you know, that you may, I'm looking at you guys because you're the majority, but there's 2 online. And, you know, I may go to college. You know, are you accepted in a program? Or is it something that you're moving forward with? I mean, you know, I graduated a year early from high school, and I got into a job training program and trimmed trees for 6 months to make money so I could pay for my first quarter of school. So I support it. I just am concerned about the maybe path. And you had the wherewithal to get through this and to meet the requirements of your principal. So I hope that you truly stick to yourself and hold that wherewithal and follow through with what it is that you think you want to do. Sure.
Yeah.
So the policy provides a very bare bones qualifications. All of my students, as part of their senior project, had to complete an extensive senior project that went over paths they had considered and rejected, why they rejected those paths, transportation, living environment. They've all vetted that. That's kind of the portfolio that you'll see listed in the policy. So just in regards to my students, and I think I wanted to prepare them to share just a nugget for you. But I think if you asked all of them, they have fairly in-depth plans for their future, and most of them at minimum have a transportation, living, and even a part-time job just to get them to that next step. So just for further clarity, and for any of the board members who'd like to come and visit with any of my students further at the IDYCA and see their senior project, I think they'd be happy to share it with you. And they're probably all like, why did you say that?
I have a question for y'all, for the cadets. So let's say you didn't graduate early. You graduated from IDYCA, but you didn't graduate early and you still had school to complete. How many of you, honestly, no judgment here, how many of you would actually go back to your towns to go back home and enroll back in school?
If I don't graduate from here, then I put myself in a position by graduating early that if I didn't, then I wouldn't be able to graduate at all. I'd have to get a GED.
Oh,
okay.
sounds like they're pretty well thought through. I
Yeah.
think there's been a lot of work go on here.
How about the students online?
They might
Yeah,
not,
they
they
left.
might not be there.
They left.
They
No, I
graduated.
I appreciate y'all's honesty with that.
Yeah, it's very good.
Personally, if I weren't able to graduate early, I would kind of continue on as usual because I'm not exactly a student who needs to. I would just prefer it due to personal financial reasons, as well as I've previously experienced health issues because I haven't been able to take care of myself while I'm doing school at the high school at the same time.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
If I weren't able to graduate early, I would finish out high school and I would still continue to move up with college and
Mhm.
still complete that path that I would really want to take.
Good.
Yes.
So when I first got here, my plan was actually to go back to my original high school in Meridian. And I didn't even know that I was going to be able to graduate early. But then after going over my credit total and everything like that, I figured out I could. But if I wasn't able to do that, then I would have ended up going back to high school and finishing out and graduating.
Okay.
Very good.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
You know, if students complete the state of Idaho high school requirements,
Mhm.
once they're done, they really have a couple of choices. Keep going to high school
Mhm.
for no real reason,
Mhm.
school lunch maybe, or social reasons. And take elective classes.
Yeah.
You know, beef up their electives, but it really doesn't do anything for them. Or take dual credit college classes. And so some students finish early, stay in school, and get cheap high school credits.
Yeah.
If they're ready to go and they've completed the state of Idaho high school requirements, I have my experience, I haven't seen any real advantage to holding a student back who's done what they're supposed to do, met the requirements, and is ready to go. Can't really see unless they are unaware of an early completer situation where they can stay in high school and take college credits, and our kids today are fully aware of those opportunities and they're ready to go for whatever reason. So I can't see any reason to hold a student back who's ready to go. And as a principal here, I wouldn't want a student who's done and had no motivation to come back and do anything else. It just wouldn't be helpful to them at all.
To add on, if I weren't graduating early, I've completed all of my main classes, so I would just be taking elective classes. And because there's not a wide variety offered by the school personally, I'd be sitting in one room taking 5 online classes.
Do you have any dual credit classes?
I think I have about 16 to 20 dual credit.
I'm in the kind of the same boat as one of my classmates, as in some of the schools from where I'm from won't accept you if you have all of your credits and you need it. So technically I would just be a dropout high schooler.
It's interesting.
And for context, a lot of the schools in the state require an excessive number over the high school graduation requirements. So we're talking 56 credits to graduate, which is 10 more than the high school required. So that would put some of these students in a difficult position, having to return and almost do that scenario. So we feel that if they've met the high school graduation requirements and shown the satisfactory growth as far as their placement plan, and as some of you are aware with the IDYCA, all of our students are with us for much longer than the 5.5 months they have with us. They do have to complete their post-residential phase, which can be up to 12 months of us having contact with them, having contact with their mentors, us following up and making sure that they're staying true to these plans that they're helpful to make and giving them that support if they don't have it.
Well, I'm glad my question ignited some spark.
All right.
Got a little
So-
fire going there.
Yep, we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Yes.
Good job, kiddos.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right. Summer programs PBIS training.
Yeah, so you heard Mr. Lee talk about, we just received a grant for doing this PBIS training at his school. So what we're looking for here is summer programs for our students using some grant money. We just want to have permission from you guys to be able to enable those. So we have a couple things in mind. The elementary at Orofino, last year they did this as well, kind of a 2-week boot camp prior to school. They'd like to repeat that. Obviously, we have to pay personnel to do that. PBIS training that we have going on, there is some grant money on that, but obviously if we're sending money to people, we just need that approval. And we haven't come up with the terms. Some of those will probably be leadership stipends as well. As you guys know, our leadership stipends from the state has been removed from us, but we'd like to go ahead and continue those in district and coming in with our own local money to do that. So any kind of training or those programs, we just like the permission to do that here at Timberline. I know we've already got permission to hire a person to put in there, and that's on the list. I don't think we're on the list tonight, but for our title program, for our intervention. So if we have any other needs, we just want to make sure we have that because it is dealing with personnel. So some good programs in place, but want to be able to expand if we have the opportunity, and we'll keep you informed on that as we go.
Motion, anyone?
So right now we are approving a summer program at Orofino Elementary School.
Yes, and the PBIS training for, yes.
And PBIS training is for teachers.
Yes, the training, yes. So you're doing tiered intervention for students, and it's the training for the teachers to do that. So there'll be a committee, there'll be a group of adults, the teachers, and some paras. They're not all teachers and administrators, and they'll go through this training as well. So yeah. And those are outside of regular contract hours is why we're looking at doing that.
I'll move that we, I'm still confused
Okay.
about what it is, right? So I'll move that we approve the use of these grant dollars for a preschool boot camp, not preschool as in pre-kindergarten, but a pre-back to school boot camp, and some intervention training with our teachers.
I'll second.
All in favor? Oh, discussion. Geez, I know it. I know
So,
it.
Dr. Garrett, do we have a cost associated with that? I mean, I know we got a
So-
grant. What's the
Yeah.
dollar amount on
So
that?
currently, what we typically do is if there's anything outside of contract hours, we'll pay at the current rate that they are contracted at. Not all leadership stipends are that way, and that's why we're kind of in discussions on which way we want to go with that. Depending on the timing, I know like this PBIS training, Mr. Lee just told me today, one of them is actually a work day this fall that we have scheduled prior to school, but the other 2 days are not. So we need to work through those details. So those costs will vary depending on, salary of folks and then, it's number of days. So there'll only be a couple of days there outside of regular contract hours for the PBIS. Last year I would have to look, but we had paras running some of our program at the Orofino Elementary School as well. So those rates were a little bit less, obviously, and we were doing a couple of days a week, or 4 days a week, I think it was. They were trying to do, but just half days. So there are some transportation costs and those things, but most of this is going to be recovered through grant money, through our learning loss grant money.
Most.
Yeah, there could be some fees that are outside of that. It won't be significant at all. It would be less than a couple of $1,000s, I would think, because most of it's going to be very much covered by the grants, depending on how we design it. And the reason I say most is because the grants have very specific guidelines. And if there's anything outside of that, they won't reimburse us for it. So we want to make sure we stack it towards it.
Is there a reason we can't stay within the grant funded amount?
Not necessarily, but sometimes there's some unique situations. I don't foresee that, but there could be some potential situations, but we will definitely won't go overboard on that.
This is Mr. Lee, for the PBIS, Boise State. So part of receiving this grant is they give us, I think it's like $500 a year for some of the things for student incentives and things like that. So that's a cost that the district won't have to incur as part of that program. Also, they come to Lewiston, facilitate these trainings with no cost, as well as providing those teachers with who partake on the team 2 professional development credits. So 2 credits that they can use towards their 5-year certification requirement. Also, we can, if we have to, look into some of our safe and drug-free schools monies to help kind of bolster that from the school side of things. But really what we're looking at are 2 days of non-certified work for them to attend those trainings. That's the only cost that we're seeing on our end. Other than that, it's all taken care of.
Right. So with the elementaries, and those were non-contracted days is what he was saying. With the elementary, and we provided lunches as well. Carmen was just telling me that. And then the school reimbursed. So we were able, that was an expense to us as well. We're providing food and snacks for those kids. So it's all part of that program. So really what we're looking at is we're just looking for approval to launch these programs. It's not anything we can't afford and won't live through at all. We just need to make sure we cover that.
Is this what they call the reading kickstart in the,
last year they did, yeah.
in the
Yep.
elementary school?
Yep.
So this is all tied together with both schools.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And reason it's a little bit more vague is because I know that they learned a lot from that last year and they're still redesigning what they're going to do this year.
I see there's going to be.
It's
food
going to be very
involved,
similar,
too.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's more than just Orofino Elementary. You have that here, Jason?
I wondered about that.
Mhm.
The library, right?
Yeah, and we did that at both at WEIP and Pierce. We split that with age groups and stuff. So that's something that we're looking into as well. So those
Out of
are.
the same pot of money.
Yeah.
Looks like a lot of elementary students will benefit from that.
Yes.
There's like 70 students you
Yeah.
mentioned there.
So is it possible to get more of a actual plan for what we're going to expend in relationship to the grant?
When
make
I
you
get
more
it,
comfortable?
you can have it.
I'm good. I'm good with
Yeah, I just feel like we're a
Yeah.
little blind on it.
Yeah.
We don't have a dollar amount.
Yes, the question.
Yes.
I mean, I'm all about doing what we can for kids by far. I just worry that the grant money won't cover. I don't know what the grant money is. I don't know what the dollar amount is.
So our grant money right now, that learning loss money has about 360,000 in it. And we're using it for multiple things.
Okay.
So we're hiring teachers to have intervention in each school. So there's basically 3 teachers that are getting hired for that to put into place in each building. So that will cover that cost for the next 2 years of them.
So
Plus,
that's separate.
that's the same pot of money. Yes. So as we do this, then there's going to be extra money coming out of that we can use for little programs like this. And this is not significant amounts. You know, $10,000 probably covered all of it last year on everything we did.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So what's it going to cost?
It's not very much in the whole scheme of things. I mean, yes, $10,000 is a lot of money, but and it varies because last year so when we split it at Pierce and we spent a lot of it on some prizes, and we also did curriculum. We did lots of different things with it and transportation. We reimbursed transportation as well. So there were several pieces to that of the puzzle that went together. So that could vary a little bit this year. Transportation worked. We'd like to do that again if we can find drivers, obviously. We know the boot camp or the summer reading at the elementary worked for 2 weeks. So we'd like to do that again, get kids ready to go. And then we have this new PBIS piece. So trying to hit the kids at all the district, as much as the districts we can.
So the PBIS piece is really the teacher training.
PBIS is a teacher training. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So then I need to change the motion because I included this preschool boot camp, which is part of the learning loss dollars. And that's not what you're asking for here. You're asking specific for the PBIS.
So let me clarify that. It all comes from the same pool of money, same pot of money. We're asking for permission to be able to do these programs with that money.
Yeah, it's both the summer program and the
Yes.
PBIS.
Yes, PBIS is part of that. Yes. And you guys have already approved out of that pot of money for the intervention teachers.
Right.
So yes. Just trying to track the money a little bit more and have some, something attached to it with you guys getting the approval so we can, because we have to turn all that into the state and it has to be board approved, obviously, when we spend it.
Takes us a while to catch up here.
That's okay. Yeah, I was,
That's what I thought. I mean,
yeah,
that's what I thought.
I was probably ahead of you on that one. Yeah, sorry about that.
bit.
So,
That's all
yeah,
right.
that's
Just a
okay.
little bit.
Did we come back to center? Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion
In a
and
I
a
assume.
second. Did we?
Yeah,
we need a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Reluctant aye. Is there such a thing?
Drum roll.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
No, it's good.
No one's forcing you. That's for
Okay.
sure.
New hires and separations.
I thought the music teacher left.
She did.
Did I miss something?
Yeah. She did.
Okay. Was it like, just kidding?
Oh,
Just kidding.
Psych.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, kind of.
All right.
Yeah.
So one of the pieces that came up, Jason, in the learning loss committee was a point that the process of getting hired for a tutor for the student tutoring program was possibly keeping people, students out of it. So I was happy to see that you have one here.
Even talked to me today, and I was like, sweet, good job.
Okay.
The whole effort by yourself.
Good.
Okay, let's get our motion. Let's get our motion on the table.
Yep.
And then we can discuss it.
I'll move to approve the new hires
As listed.
as listed.
And
Do we want the
separation?
separations and retirements too?
Yeah.
Okay, kick him out the door. So I'll move, we approve the new hires and separations and retirements as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, now we can discuss.
Okay, so I was happy that Timberline had someone because it was suggested that perhaps that was a limiting factor and not an equitable project or concept for the district. So I wanted to celebrate that publicly.
And a really good pick. Great student.
Okay. All right. Any more discussion on that? You good? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, now we need to go into executive session. So we're gonna Oh, we're gonna do that for, okay, sorry. Do we have any board member input for the future agenda? Next meeting being June 20th at the elementary school.
We'll have the information on the academic testing reports, right? For June.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would assume we would want to discuss this. Absolutely.
30-50.
Yes.
30-50.
Right.
Discuss that some more.
Put that
Yep.
on there.
Yeah, I think they'll give some time to get her done.
I'll look at it a little closer.
And maybe a building update on the,
Mhm.
Timberline.
yeah,
Above ground next time.
yeah, yeah. Building update, and that's, anything else?
No, I think you got it.
I think we're good. Okay. Okay, now can we get a motion for executive? Roll call for, after the motion, yeah. I got that, I had that one written down. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move that pursuant to Idaho Code 74-206 A and F, is that right?
One.
1 A and F, yes, that we move into executive session.
Can we get a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please, Madam Clerk. Yes.
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 Thank you for coming.
Motion carries.
Yes, it's great.
Now go away.
Congratulations, all you guys.
Yeah, we better shake these young people's hands.
Oh, good sakes.
Thank you. Congratulations. Just go out.
Out of executive? Yeah. Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Yeah.
Me, you don't even have to have a motion. Meeting is adjourned.